Good evening, everybody, and welcome back. We got a special edition of the Creative Cranium tonight. I have some fantastic guests, and I can't wait to talk to them. Please welcome Fish Lee and Jessica Mason. Welcome, guys.
Howdy, man. Glad to be here, man. Excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. I am a fan of both of your works, and before we get started, I guess everybody knows that I'm actually friends with both of you and pretty familiar with your works. So why don't we start by, we'll go around in a circle and tell us your name, what you're doing, and what you're the most known for. We'll start with Fish Lee.
All right. I am Fish Lee. I am Mr. Fish Comics. I'm the whole kit and caboodle. I am the creator of books like Green Zone Life in the Blocks that got published through FSK. I've illustrated like 66 books. I'm working on my 66th right now in 5 years. I've helped raise over right at 100 grand on Kickstarter. And I'm in the process of launching Ka the Cro-Magnon. And it's about a feathered barbarian from beyond the stars. And it's just like Saturday morning good times.
It looks like a good time. I love the character designs on that book, and we're going to talk about that. But let's jump over to Jessica. Jessica, tell the viewers who you are and kind of what you're the most known for.
Okay. Well, I'm Jessica. I own Wicked Tree Press. I write novels as well as comics. I'm probably the most known for Plastic Girl right now. It is a trilogy, YA sci-fi trilogy set in a climate apocalypse and about a young girl who finds something alive on her lake that's not supposed to be alive. I'm relatively new to comics. I probably spent the last 8 years. And Pistol was my first comic, which was a supernatural vigilante set in the world of sex trafficking, which is very different than Mary Shelley's School for Monsters, which is middle grade. And we're just having a lot of fun with monsters and Mary Shelley. So yeah. And I have a feeling I might be the most well-known for Mary Shelley's School for Monsters in a few years, but
yeah, I have a feeling too.
Yeah.
It's really taken off. And man, I love some of the designs also on your book, Jessica, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So why don't we start out? You know, we're going across 10 channels tonight, so I'm excited to talk to you. Broadcasting from the top of mighty Earth Dog Studios headquarters, we're going to learn a little bit about the creative processes of these two great creators. So let's start with Fish. Now, we had met initially. I was a backer of the Green Zone Life in the Blocks. And first off, I loved the character designs in that book. And maybe we'll start out a little bit by talking about that. But my question for you guys is going to be set up like this. Everybody makes their characters a little bit of a different way. You know, some people are very visual. Some people are artists. Some people are writers. I respect all that. And there's no wrong way. But like when I make a character, I start with the writing. I tend to think of what that person said. I start with a couple of lines of dialogue, and I start that way. But I understand that's not the way that most people do it. Fish, when you start with your character designs, what is step one?
Usually, it's kind of embarrassing to say, but most of my most notable characters have come from a dream. But most of the time when I'm creating a character, I'm starting from a core of like, what's their motivation, or like, what type of class of character is this? Is this going to be, you know, a rogue? Is this a pirate? Is this, you know, I'm starting from who they are and what they do. And then they start to evolve out of that. Like, what kind of world do they live in? What kind of clothes would they wear in this world? What kind of equipment would they carry? What kind of scars would they have? And, you know, are they an 8-foot lizard monster, or are they, you know, a skinny little girl covered in razor sharp quills? And, you know, it grows out of there, and then it ends up getting really weird.
Yeah. Weird is good, man. You're in the right house for that. We love weird
telling
here. Jessica, I noticed the same thing about your characters. They're sort of bizarre, you know, speaking directly. Why don't we talk a little bit first about Mary Shelley?
Okay.
You know, that, and like when you made those characters, what was step one? How did you start with your characters?
Well, step one was I wanted to do something in the world of Mary Shelley. But I didn't want to do a story where Mary Shelley was the actual lead of the protagonist. I wanted it to be something different. So it took me a while to figure out, I had to dive into Mary Shelley and decide what were her strengths, like kind of what Fish was saying, what were her strengths and weaknesses that would best play into this character. And then it kind of goes from there. And then I was like, oh, it's going to be the monster version of her because she always probably felt like a monster. And then it was like, when I thought of that, it was like, all right, I'm going to make Mary Shelley, who is a monster now. What does that look like? And that kind of led to that development for me. And it led to her finding, I'm like, she has to run. I want her to run into the mad scientist guy, but I don't want it to be the mad scientist, And so it was like brought in the Necronomicon, and that became a character. And yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I got kind of lost there.
No. It's very interesting. And I've told people before, I'm fascinated by the creative processes of different people. And the thing that I think is kind of cool, and I like to stress that to the viewers, there's no wrong answer. So if you're thinking that you have a cool concept, I mean, you could learn a lot from Fish Lee and Jessica Mason. You can jump in the water and kind of start making it. Like I say, mine are based on dialogue. I tend to think in terms of what characters said to each other, and then I go backwards. And in my case, I always work with an artist. I myself am a writer. I've got kind of mild artistic skills, but certainly nothing compared to some of the talents that I meet in my travels. But I guess my question is, when you come to the visuals, we'll start with Fish here, because now Fish, you write, you draw, you do graphic design, a little bit of everything.
I do everything but the color flats and the editing, because I'd be stupid to edit my own work. I can't see my own mistakes.
No kidding. Hey, real quick, and this is slightly off topic, do you also do your own lettering?
Yeah.
Son of a gun. So you're like a quintuple threat, man.
That's why my clients keep me so busy, because they hand me a script and I hand them a finished book ready to go to press.
I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember that, because I am strictly a script guy, and I that's it for me. I don't do any of the drawing, any of the lettering, well, I actually do my own editing. I have worked with an editor once or twice, and I prefer to edit my own material. I'll leave it with that. The question I'd want to ask you, though, is when you approach the visual stage, like we're talking about Caw, the Cro-Magnon, right?
Yeah.
Let's take a quick look at this for the viewers, because I want to show a little bit of this. And that is that one right there. So definitely a unique visual look. Tell me a little bit about the mighty Caw. How did that come about?
Again, it kind of seems unfair. I was talking with my buddy Stephen Butler. We talk all the time, and we're roughly the same age, so we like a lot of the same old things from back in the day. And he's working on these barbarian projects for Untamed Realms, and he's sending me all these barbarian drawings, and he's sending me all these like old cartoons and all like the old Flash Gordon serials and stuff. And I was watching one, and I laid down to take a nap, and I was just thinking how much I loved the Hawkmen, and I've always wanted to have a cool winged character, but hawks are overdone, and even owls are overdone now. And I was like, but my favorite bird has really always been the crow, because they're so smart and crafty. And then Cro-Magnon hit me. I saw him fully formed. The name Caw hit me. I jumped up from a nap, and I had to sketch him out. And that first sketch is so close to the finished product. It's really not fair. It's just not.
That's what I was going to ask you. How many roughs does it take till you arrive at the final character?
This one I put a lot more work into. Unfortunately, on Green Zone, some of the characters like Bellamy, that's covered in the quills all over. The first time I was ever happy with the drawing of her was on the page in the book. And all of a sudden, she just finally came out right. I had been trying for 5 years and never could get it to look right. She always came out looking like a blowfish. And this time, it looked perfect. Caw came out real close, but so much of the time, like either a client's in a rush or we don't have a lot of time for me to figure out stuff ahead of time. So I'm figuring out a lot of characters on the page and designing them on the page. And I have to go back and look at page one to see what I did. I wanted to really figure these guys out first and really nail the looks down. So I really played around with Caw for a while. And for a bit, he even had 4 extra sets of wings, and I edited those off and I moved him around. And really the only change from the original drawing is his hands got a whole lot bigger and he's wearing pants. And otherwise he's pretty much the same dude that he was on that. And I freaking love him. He's so much fun to write. He's so much fun to draw. He's just a total power fantasy. Like his whole stance in life lands on 3 tenets. Caw fears no man, Caw bows to no man, and Caw falls to no man. And that's it. That tells you everything you need to know about this dude. And
yeah, I love the concept, Fish, let me tell you. And when I first heard this one, yeah, I love the name, you know, the concept clicks, you know, the Cro-Magnon. It's really clever, man. Congratulations.
what can I say? I'm the king of dad jokes. I have been for a long time.
So viewers, let's do a quick call to action. That's the Mighty Caw. That's over on Kickstarter right now if you'd like to come and back it. And I have backed Fish's previous books. I'm going to jump on this one too. Highly recommended. So please come over and check that out.
And
So,
when
you know,
we hit that $3,000 mark, I'm going to release the Caw source book as an add-on that you can add on. And it goes into all kinds of details about his home world. Like the story about how he got his name made me cry writing it down in the source book. So you absolutely want to get out there and back it so that we can release that.
No, I can't wait to see it. So let's jump over to Jessica, because I love these characters too. And I'm actually a fan of Jessica's work. And I think this is a neat concept. The first thing is, did I understand correctly? Is it YA, all ages? How would you describe that?
I think it falls pretty solid into middle grade. You know, because it does deal, like, I mean, I've read a ton of middle grade with my kids. I would think, to me, it's middle grade. I think YA would enjoy it. And I think younger kids can enjoy it as well. So it's not, you know, so dark that you couldn't read it with a younger child. Yeah. And
right.
I think
it's spooky, right? But it's not necessarily.
And La Llorona's in it. So there's that. And the characters do deal with her story, which involves drowning children. So, I mean, there's that. But the cartoon, like Anna's style is not super dark. I mean, it's spooky and vibrant and colorful. So I would never think that anyone's going to read it and get scared necessarily.
Let's give your artist a quick shout out here. Can you tell us about your artist?
So the artist is Anna Weischek, and she does it all as well. She doesn't do the lettering though. So I think she's a phenomenal artist. She did God Killer. She just did Home I think 2 years ago now through Image, which was a 5 comic series about an immigrant boy who, when he gets detained, his superpowers start to come out. And that was really beautiful. She did the penciling for that, the illustration for that. And so for this one, she does all of the artwork, all the steps, and which is really nice. It's a different process. But yeah, Anna's amazing. And we developed, you know, the way I do characters with an artist, because I'm not an artist. Sometimes I draw and I send something to someone and they get to laugh a little bit. But I usually write like about a paragraph, like a character, break down the things that are important to me that the character has, whether it's like a comedic thing, the things that they fear, the things that they don't fear, the things that are important to them. And then Anna, with her, she would do an initial sketch and we'd go back and forth. I mean, with Mary Shelley, obviously it needs to look a little bit like Mary Shelley. But, you know, we were basing these on monsters and characters that have existed. So it's a little bit different, but I definitely had an opinion about all of them. And so it's in the back of my book, the book that I'm going to have on Kickstarter, some of the character breakdowns, and then she'll send me the art and we'll just go back and forth. We do it a whole process that we do way before we start. So, and we lock down all the characters. We did that with the short we did for Battle Royale. Cthulhu is hard to spell. We kind of got all the characters figured out beforehand. So, because for me as a writer and a publisher, like I have an idea in my head. I know the artist is going to, you know, I know the artist, I found the artist. I know they're going to do their own thing, but, you know, I don't want to start the process if we aren't agreeing on what the character is going to look like. And so,
right. And, you know, that's a little bit more similar to me, I would sense that, let me think of the right way to say this. You know, the process is a little bit organic and it's, look, I sometimes say it's like being in a band, right? I forget if, are either you two musicians? I forgot. Please bear with me.
Yeah.
I can play the piano, but I'm not in a band. So.
Yeah, right. So it's very similar to being a musician. And what I mean by that is if you were, hey, you know, we're starting this band and we need a guitar player, right? Well, who do you want to get? Well, we're going to go up and see this new guy playing. He's named Eddie Van Halen, right? So you go in the front row and you look at Eddie playing and you go, man, this is the guy, right? We got to recruit him for our band. We're going to have this terrific band. Then when you get ready for the show and the curtain goes up, Eddie's going to start playing. And it's a little bit bad for him to go, whoa, 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 not like that, Eddie.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, wait a second. Yeah.
This is an acoustic folk band. I thought you understood that. Come on, Eddie, get it together. You're supposed to be a pro.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a little bit of what I call an organic give and take, because I feel that the best efforts are collaborative. And in many cases, the artists might come up with some cool element that perhaps I hadn't thought of. So I guess for Jessica, I'd want to ask this question. Like in your case, one thing that I think is really cool is the colors are kind of inventive, right? And I don't think it's what you maybe really would expect. It's definitely different color scheme. So my question for you would be this: when you're going through your process of kind of honing in that visual character, what's an example of where it didn't work or something that you might have changed with the artist?
It's not that it didn't work. It was I have a character who's based in Native American folk, a Native American folktale, and it's Papa Aglabanyu, and he's a frog character. And I said it's going to be, I sent her the folktale. This giant frog, his frog will grow really big, and it stopped this flood, and he's going to be the chef of the school, but also kind of like he does some other teaching. And she just did it in one version that actually my daughter likes better than the one that I wanted. But, I just was like, oh, that's an awesome character. Like, I loved it, but it wasn't what I wanted for this book. And so I just sent her a picture of a couple frogs. And I said, these are the frogs. Like, and so if we could do a character in this vibe instead of like a more of a Mr. Toad kind of art style.
Oh,
and,
sure.
And to this day, my oldest is like, I liked her first frog better, Mom. But I personally.
Hey, that's kind of interesting. Can I jump in and we expand on that? So how old's your kids again, may I ask?
At 10 and 13.
Okay. And so occasionally then you ask them for their viewpoints.
Yes. Like I would say even, because it is directed right between the 8 and 13 age group is kind of like the sweet spot for this book. Right. I think a lot of adults will like this book though too, because I still like those books that are targeted. And there's a pair. Oh, it's Katrina.
Hi, Katrina.
There's a pair of shoes that the modern day Mary Shelley wears, or Shell, and they're a pair of Converse shoes that my kids have. I took a picture of them and sent them and said, let's put these shoes on her. And so sometimes they do that because
that's awesome. I have guilty as charged. I do that with my son. He's 15. And, my books tend to have a lot of sci-fi elements, heavy metal elements. And I sometimes turn to him, I go, hey, David, is this scary enough? Is this, is this metal enough? And he'll tell me, like, he doesn't hold anything back because he doesn't have that filter that we might have. I say, and actually let's form this into a question. We'll go around one more time. So first, let's do a call to action. Viewers, that's Mary Shelley's School for Monsters. That's the horror graphic novel. That's in pre-launch right now. So go over and please save it. I guarantee you're going to like this book. Jessica, what's our estimated launch date for that book?
It's going to be Tuesday, the 30th. So we're going to go live. And
perfect.
We have a excellent early bird special deal on the graphic novel, the enamel pin, the sticker, all these goodies for only $45, and it's only for 3 days, and it's U.S. shipping included, and I have 100 of them, and that's it.
Gotcha.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, that's my first 3 days, so you don't want to miss that if you're getting the book, because that's got all the fun stuff.
Call to action. Go now and check it out. Viewers, come on over.
Because I love the early bird deal. I'm the early bird deal person, so I have to have one.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta admit, when we came on the show, I went to look at my Kickstarter. I was like, wait a minute, it's not in my backed list, because I was certain I had backed this already, but I had gone and followed it when I saw you on the last interview on another show, and I was like, oh, this is too cool. I've absolutely got to back it.
Oh, awesome. I backed yours. I'm excited for your clothing.
Yeah, that's terrific. And of course, I wish you the best of luck to both you guys. So let's switch it around a little bit. I want to ask you a couple of Kickstarter questions, if that's okay. And we'll start by my question. The first one would be this. I find it very difficult to determine what the ultimate goal is going to be monetarily. And I've experimented with a couple of things. And let's start with Fish. Fish, when you're setting your goal, first off, congratulations for hitting your goal on the Mighty Call. You're welcome, sir. How did you arrive at the conclusion? Like, do you estimate the backers? Do you estimate the dollars? How do you do it?
On this one and my very first one that I did by myself, I had to do a little bit differently than I did Green Zone, because Green Zone was going through my publisher, Freestyle Comics. So for that one, like, he's got a spreadsheet figured up, and we had to figure in all of the, the cost of everything and the shipping and all that. and then how much would it cost to pay me to produce the next book, because I absolutely pay myself to do it, because if I can't afford to pay myself to do it, then I have to take somebody else's book to pay my bills, because the mortgage is still coming. And figured all that in, and then that was the goal. And those goals were higher, like $4,000. This one was $2,000, because this one's just me. And so this one I was looking at, because it's just me doing it, and I'm having the printers ship out the books and everything so it can get out as quick as possible. I was really looking this time at, like, what do I need to get a 500 print run, because I get a good price break at 500. Basically, I get that extra 100 books free. It's the same price as if I ran 400. And how much does that cost? How much is it going to cost to ship the average number of books that I get on a thing? And then what's it going to cost, to pay me to do the next book? And I can actually get these out pretty quickly. So that goal was a lot shorter, a lot easier to hit, which I thought was going to be great. And we hit goal, and then we kind of hit a lull, which surprised me, because usually we just keep sailing. But this one, there's so many good books out right now.
Yeah, you know what? And
So many
pause
good
right there,
books.
because you were coming around. I got that question for you next, but let's jump over to Jessica. I want to ask you the same question, because Jessica, honestly, I'm never 100% sure how to do this, and I'm this year, as maybe some of you have noticed, or I've mentioned to people, I'm doing everything different, because I'm just trying stuff and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
But I want to know what Jessica does, and like I say, I'm fascinated by how people do it. How do you know yet what your goal will be for Mary Shelley?
I'm still working on the goal. I keep going back and forth. I will say that I do watch a bunch of campaigns a couple weeks before to see how it's going, because I feel like because I am a backer on Kickstarter, like I'm on it anyway. And so if I'm seeing a creator that I know struggle, that usually funds super quick and is done, I'm like that. I mean, I've only done one Kickstarter. It was successful. Now this is my second Kickstarter. So I don't want to say I have a huge process, but I do think about it, and I do everything fish that I figure out how much everything costs. I have, the difference is I have my comics all, I think you do too, Fish. I have them all done. So I paid people, I've done all the production. I don't usually kickstart for the production, because that's a different ballgame. I don't feel like I'm quite there on Kickstarter yet to actually try to get that whole chunk. I usually kickstart first the printing as part of the printing, and some of that at the end, so the print run, not the production. But I figure out the shipping, as I figure out all the different tiers, like how much can I afford to give a special, can I do it and have it make sense financially? And usually I'm putting in like the extras, like the enamel pins and the stickers, things that I wouldn't normally make, maybe. And so I kind of put that into the Kickstarter thing. I am maybe thinking $4,000 for this one, even though I have obviously, just based on what I've been seeing, but I'm getting a little nervous based on some campaigns. So we'll see. Yeah. I don't know. It feels like people aren't spending as much, and I can get it. I get it right now because of inflation and yeah.
It's a tough market. It's definitely true. Go ahead, Fish.
I was going to say, I also think, like, if I had set it at 3 or 4 for this one, I have a feeling I probably would have hit that already, with all those people that wanted to get to goal. I think I probably would have hit it. But also, I did this campaign differently than most of the other campaigns that I've done. Like the Green Zone campaigns, there were T-shirts and jackets and pins and all kinds of things you could get, metal bookmarks and prints. But also, all of those things are one more moving part that can slow things down. And if there's a delay at the metal bookmarks, then we're stuck and we can't ship the books with them. And things happen. So that's why I cut this down to just the books, which I think also kind of bit me a little bit. If I had some higher tiers for extra stuff, then I know a lot of people that would have backed those. But I wanted this to get out fast, because my intention is to immediately put out the next one and the next one. I would like to get, I'd like to get where I'm doing 12 of these a year. And so that's my goal. So I need to get it into people's hands so they can read it and come back for more.
Yeah. Well, I love the concept. And I mean, 12 a year, man, my hat's off to you, Fish. I can't even imagine that.
I'm telling you, from the day I woke up from that nap to 30 days later, I had the finished book. I had finished a short story for a client. I had the Kickstarter set up, the Patreon set up, and a Teespring store set up. Like, it just exploded in my head like a fire hydrant and would not let go. So yeah, I've been busy.
Well, I get that. And, I like to, like I say, I'm very fascinated by people's creative process, and everybody's a little different, like I say. And, I'm always glad to offer any advice I could lend. Not because I'm a smart person, but because I've done everything wrong almost.
Well, I definitely want to hear what you do, what your process is.
Okay, you ready for this? Remember, I told you I'm doing everything different. Here's what I did. Ready? The first thing is I threw out my matrix and I threw out my goal setting devices, and I threw all that out. And here's why. Because I make books a little different. I have too much anxiety to say, well, my book's not done, but if you back my Kickstarter, I'll pay the artist and I'll pay this guy and I'll get it all ready for you. I can't do that. I'm like too upset. So my books are kind of what they call in the can. What I mean by that is all pages are complete, all pages are colored, and it's at least 50% lettered. Yeah. Because usually if there's a lettering problem, you can get around that. And I don't mean that in any negative way, but sometimes things can happen in production. And I don't think it's fair to customers. And I'm not going to call anybody out, but I've had a couple of Kickstarters that were a little better than a year for me to get the book. And some never came at all. And I remember thinking to myself, you know what? I'm doing this part-time and I'm get my books out faster than that. It's not really fair to me as a consumer. Mental note, don't do this to my customers. So in my case, you're bidding on a book that's actually, it's almost print ready. So one of the things about Kickstarter, they have sort of a system where I guess you'd call it an all or nothing kind of a system. This is one man's opinion. I didn't see the value in that, because if I set my goal for, let's say, 2288, that was usually our goal because the book was called Water Wars 2288. Well, and we hit that pretty well and even went a good bit past it. And I had a couple in the $5,000 range, something like that. But the thought occurred to me, if I try a new title and people aren't familiar with it, there's a very good chance that I'm not going to hit that number. I need to get whatever I can get because that is going to be my print money. And also there was a rumor at the time that said something to the effect of, if you set the goal very low and it goes over the goal quickly, there's like an algorithm that helps push it to the forefront of,
because you were successful quickly, you backed in 3 hours,
so,
but your goal was $500.
So this last one, I said, okay, I'm going to set the goal for $500. And it wasn't necessarily a goal like, help us get this. And all the fun was kind of what I call the stretch goals, because the stretch goals were 3,200, 4,200, 5,200. But I went with the 500, and we hit that in like a half hour or something. And this one was my most successful one. It was almost 6,000. So I told you that part. That's the good part, right? Here's the bad part. The algorithm in no way helped me. And here's how I know that. There's a website. It's called KickTrack.
Oh, yeah,
and if certain parameters are met, you can get like to the front page of the KickTrack. And my last book was just screaming up the Kickstarter. I didn't have a single backerless day, but I didn't get on KickTrack at all. So what causes that? I don't know. So I will tell the viewers, for me, the 500, the low goal algorithm boost thing did not work. However, in the numbers, it worked, but I don't think I got any kind of additional boost from the algorithm. So I'll let you interpret that data, for what it's worth. But in my case, it didn't work. The one thing I did. What's that again?
So I'm going to get my tea leaves out.
Yeah, and again, everybody's thing is different. I'm not disparaging anybody, but I couldn't find a way to justify it. Well, I'll make it $4,000, and if it's $3,900, I'll just do this over again. That's a huge waste of time for me. As you know, Kickstarters, it's a lot of momentum and a lot of marketing, and you got to go on all these crazy shows, right? So, hey, there's my buddy. What's up, Doc? Good to see you, man. So I will tell you that is what I did. And one of the things we were trying to do was to avoid the lull that Fish was talking about. So let's focus on that real quick. Fish, you mentioned about how there's always a lull in the middle of the campaign, and it does seem to be true most of the time. So you mentioned the shorter campaign. Can you tell me a little bit about your strategy with the shorter campaign?
I absolutely stole it from Laurie Foster because she's smarter than me, and she's doing everything I want to be doing. So I looked at what she was doing. I talked to her about it, and her thought was, when we do a 30-day campaign, we got that 2 weeks in the middle where nobody backs it. So we're just going to take that out and do a 2-week campaign. And she was still hitting the same kind of goals that she always hit. And so that she kept doing it. So we tried that with the first 2 green zones, and they were like 2.5, 3 weeks, because we want to start it on one show and end it on another show to close it out. So it may be a hair longer, but like on both my green zones, I don't think we ever had a day that we didn't get a backer. So this one for call was 17 days. And, the first few days of it was gangbusters, and we hit goal real fast. And now we've still hit a lull in the middle of a short campaign. But also, like I said, there is so much good stuff out right now that there's I think a whole lot of people decided this was the right time of year to do it. And, it's put a lot of competition out there right now.
That's for sure. And let's jump over to Jessica. Jessica, for Mary Shelley, what's your proposed campaign length?
I think I'm doing 21 days. Yeah. I think the first, when I did Origins, I did, maybe it was 27 days, but it was a bit, I prefer something shorter. I don't know. I know I don't want to go over 30. I can't, that's too much.
When you say,
I've
can I ask
seen
you,
some
when
that
you
were
say
like
you
40
can't,
and 60, and I couldn't take it.
I mean, I just don't want to. I'm not going to, because
like the stress of the managing the campaign?
I think I would stop paying attention to it after, even myself. I'd be like, all right, I'm done with my own Kickstarter. Because I initially did a Kickstarter, like the first Kickstarter I did was in October, and I've been a big backer. I love Kickstarter, but I hadn't decided if I was going to actually do Kickstarter or not. And I'm glad that I did, because I had a really good time. But I was originally going to just do these single issue, the Origins ones on Kickstarter. And then for the hardcover, I was going to just do direct sales and work on it that way. And then each year I was going to do a new Origins. And then eventually they all go together, because they're kind of the prologue and they're the backstory of like how Mary Shell and Frank, got captured by the evil scientists, how they escape them, how they started the school. It's kind of all that. And so it can be its own thing. And so I was like, that's what I'm going to do, because then I can participate in Kickstarter, have, make some money on it, have some fun with it, engage with the fans there. And then I'll do the book separately. And then I was told by several people that was a big mistake.
Why is that?
Well, that I was going to lose the momentum that I got from the first one, which I do think, there's people who want to see the hardcover on Kickstarter. And I thought it over, and I was like, you know what? I gave it a long thought. I thought of the pros and cons, and I decided to do another one. But yeah, I originally was going to do like one a year that was more manageable for me. But so now I've gone full in, guys. So we'll see. Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah. Welcome. Thanks for sharing that information. And like I say, I don't always know the right answer, but I went I had tried the 21 days, and it's something like, what's that? It was roughly 25% less days in the last one. And when I did that, it also did 25% less money. So I was like, okay, I threw that model out. I said this time, and I went to 38 days. I guess it was maybe 36 days. It was an extra week. And the reason I did it wasn't math related, but I wanted to stretch it over. So it went over Star Wars Day. I wanted to go past May the 4th.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I was doing, I did a little library thing where I was working with the kids, and we did a creative workshop and stuff. And I wanted to be able to say something like, hey, by the way, gang, I got this book, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't know if that was the reason, but it did effectively do 25% more money. And this time, and we're going to ask this question too. I love merch, and I love t-shirts, and I love hats, and all the cool things that everybody's got. And I'm a little bit of a pin collector, maybe, as some of you guys know. But something happened to me, and I think I might even have told Jessica this before, but I'll just do a quick repeat of it. We were getting this is for the Water War series, which is like a post-apocalyptic series, and it has some military elements. And we were making like a marching cap. It's a communist army marching hat is what it is. And it was going to have the Water Wars logo on it. And it had this cool stitching and like a little embroidery. It like stuck out a little. And it looked like something like a future communist might wear. And I'm talking to the nice lady on the phone, and she's very dutiful and very professional. And hey, what kind of color do you want on the embroidery? And what kind of color do you want on the thing? And I'm maybe 20 minutes into this conversation, and I could hear Fish's words in my ear. This is another moving part, man. I'm a writer, and by the way, that's not offense against anybody. I'm just not really a hat maker. And I felt like I was investing too much of my time into being a hat maker. So I said, hey, man, thanks for your time. I decided to go another direction. And now we're focusing on things that can be shipped from the printer. So let's jump over to that question. Fish, what type of merch are you offering, and why did you make that decision?
In this one with Caw, I am doing the books, sketch covers, a poster that's going to be printed at the printer and shipped out with the books, and I'm doing commission slots as add-ons. So like if you've been wanting to get a pinup or a cover or a character drawing from me, there's a limited amount of add-ons for that, so you can get on my schedule and get you in there and make sure that there's some openings, because everybody's always asking me. But that's it. That's all I'm doing on this one, because I wanted to keep it short and simple. Like I said, I also launched a Patreon with this, and I'm hoping that I can move people over to the Patreon as more of a subscription service. And, for $15 a month, I ship you each book that I put out. For $5 a month, you get the digital copies. For $3, you can hang out on the art stream and yell out things that are probably going to end up in the book. Because like one of the pages from this I did on my art stream, and he totally like pulls a bug out of his hair and eats it, one of these aliens, because that's what we talked about while we were on there. And so I'm hoping to push people over there, because like even though this campaign was only 17 days, like there was a good 2 weeks of thinking, planning, setting up the Kickstarter, getting everything figured out. The majority of that time, I'm not sleeping much, and I can't do really anything else. Like this 17 days, I can get up maybe 3 pinups in that time, where normally I could do that in a day without a problem. And I can't do anything else because I'm so busy going on shows and prepping and making posts. And hey, how about this idea to get you to look over here and making videos? Hey, it's your Uncle Fish. Go check out my Kickstarter.
By the way, you do it very well, man. I see your stuff, and I'm a fan.
I appreciate it. But like, I am a neurodivergent artist, and I'm on the autism spectrum, and I've got ADHD, and I've got Tourette syndrome. And like, that takes a lot out of me. Like I was helping my wife cook dinner before this show, and all of a sudden I couldn't really talk anymore. And she heard me slurring my speech, and she's like, you got an interview in an hour. You need to go sit down and I'll finish cooking dinner. Oh, wow. But like, it takes a lot out of me. In the time it took to prep and run this Kickstarter, I could have got 2 more issues of Call Out. And I would rather switch over to just let me send you the books.
Yeah. I hear you 100%. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Let's jump over to Jessica. Jessica, same for you. When you do your campaigns, and I know you have some cool pens and you have some stuff, what merch are you doing and how did you decide it?
Well, I mean, okay, so part of my decision is I don't want it to add too much to the shipping. So I'm not going to do, like, unless I can have something shipped directly, like mugs or hats or t-shirts or anything like that, I'm not going to touch any of that because it's just overly complicated for me. So I love vinyl stickers. All my kids love vinyl stickers. All the kids I know love vinyl stickers. So I'm making vinyl stickers, or just stickers in general. The enamel pin, I do a campaign enamel pin. So in the first one, I did the school crest, which has like all their, I had to. And Mark Machtel designed that. He did such an amazing job. I think I just mentioned it to him, and he just sent me this. That's how he is. He's a friend of mine, and he just sent it. He does the art for Pistol, which is the other comic series I do, but he just sent it to me. And I'm like, that's amazing. Yes, we're going to do that. And, so the pin, and so this pin is a La Llorona glow in the dark enamel pin.
Oh man, I've got to get this.
I mean, I can share the preview with you, but I'll show it soon enough. It's really cool, and Anna designed it because she wanted to do some merch this time, so we did that pin together. We're doing a vinyl book plate, which is also La Llorona. It's very beautiful. I just got a sample back from it. I have to mail it to her, but I'm timed it out because I have to mail her a bunch of stuff to Poland. So I'm going to mail all the We're going to do 250 of them, I think. So she's going to sign them. I'm going to sign them. She's going to sign them. Then she's going to mail them back to me. And then we're going to have those as something. Because I just wanted to be able to have her engage in the signing part a little bit more this time. And so that was the way to do that. And we're doing a Medusa Slay All Day sticker. That's the vinyl sticker. And we're going to do I usually do an add-on in the middle of the campaign if things are going, well, and it'll be a metal plate, probably a metal print. We did that last time.
Oh, wow. Do you mind if I ask, where do you get the metal print done?
If
you don't want to say.
I know. I used them last time in my brain. I feel really bad. I can't remember.
No worries.
But I'll send you the link.
Yeah. By the way, guys, if I ask a question and it's maybe something you don't want to say on the air, pass on the question. It's just curiosity.
It's honestly, I can't remember. And they did such
I have to write everything
down. Yeah, they did such a good job.
Deal.
I wish I could mention them right now, but I can't. So I'm sorry.
Well, I want to touch on something that Jessica mentioned. And because for me, one of the largest responsibilities of the campaign is fulfillment. Yeah. And at first, and I think this is true of everybody when we start, actually Fish mentioned the Hunchback book. That was my first book. And I was so thrilled that you guys backed that. And it's one of my favorite things I ever made. And, I remember thinking, wow, it was, 60 some customers, 70 some customers. That seems like a lot when it's your first one. Mm-hmm. But what you quickly learn is, whoa, I'm going to the post office every day. And I'm gently backing into the fact that I now use professional fulfillment. And I'd like to ask you, if you're willing to share, Fish, how do you handle your fulfillment and why did you do it that way?
On my first book, I did it myself, and it was like 97 backers, which didn't sound like a lot, but that took me about a month of trips. Like I said, I am disabled. It took me about a month of trips to the post office back and forth to get everything there and packed up and shipped out. And then I spent the next 3 months just packing and shipping new orders from people that saw that the book was out and saw people getting their books. Like, oh, I didn't know you had a Kickstarter. It's all I talked about for a month, but oh, I didn't know. Can I get a copy? And that's when I realized I don't like being a publisher. I always thought, like, why would you share that money? After doing it for like 4 months, I was like, I absolutely know why you share that money now. I don't like doing it. It's not fun. I'd rather make books. Right. So that's why I signed Green Zone with Freestyle Comics, so they could handle that stuff. I can make a book. I can put it out. I can help pitch the Kickstarter and go on interviews and do live drawing and whatever, get people to go look at it. But they can handle everything else, and I don't have to do it. This one I'm doing on my own, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm having the printers ship it straight out to the backers, and then like I'm doing a 500 print run. They're shipping out to the backers, and then everything else comes to me to take to cons and whatnot, and to give out to Patreon backers and whatnot. I'm going to be doing a little bit of shipping, but not a lot.
Do you mind if I ask who your printer is?
Kablam.
Kablam. Okay, gotcha.
Just because I know them, I've worked with them a bunch of times. I've always been happy with it.
Gotcha. Well, let's jump over to Jessica. Jessica, how do you handle your fulfillment, and why? Why do you do it that way?
I went through BackerKit just to see if that would help. And it was BackerKit was a bit to set up, but once I got it all set up, it did seem to make it easier. I'm now noticing that Kickstarter has formed a relationship with EasyShip, so maybe that.
Right, I saw that.
But with BackerKit, it was real helpful in that once you put everything in, which does take a long time, then everything's attached to a pledge. So then it all just kind of funnels into the shipping, and then you can print out the labels, in batches based on rewards. So I did do all of mine own through BackerKit. So, and it was a lot because my first one, I think I had 140 physical ones. So, I liked the process of physically having my hands on everything, so I know they're getting what I want to give them. I have a tier which is a gift, like the School for Monsters gift, and it's all wrapped, and I write a spell from Shell, and it's so it's a whole thing.
Just a quick comment. I saw that, and it's super cool, Jessica. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it's a fun little one, and then so I'm doing some bigger tiers like that are a little more personalized, and I mean, I agree though, Fish. If I could not do it, that is is an option. And so I think for part of me with the Kickstarter, the fun stuff, I definitely want to have a couple of the pins and the stickers and the little things. So I guess I have to do it. I'll be doing it again, unless for some reason it goes insane and then I have to call someone and get help. But
Right.
yeah, and I know people. Yeah.
I was going to say every creator is a little bit different, and I'm a little bit friends with John Westhoff. Do you guys know him?
Yeah.
Drumsticks do heck of a nice guy, and he always strongly recommends. He uses Pirate Ship.
Yeah,
and you can, there's software in the labels, and you can do it. And man, my understanding is you can just absolutely save a ton of money. And I got to admit, it's something I've considered too. But at the end of the day, see, I got to kind of leapfrog onto something Fish said. I didn't really want to be a publisher. Yeah. Or really a podcaster for that matter. Lots of things have happened to me sort of accidentally. And, you got to just kind of keep dealing the cards that you were dealt, right? So at the end of the day, I wanted to be a writer, and it's the best way for me to achieve the goal of being able to keep writing is to attach these other facets to kind of this multi-headed beast. And you got to trim some of them to make sure that the writing keeps going. Yeah. And in my case, again, this is one man's opinion, but viewers, to me, I said 100 was my cutoff. When I get more than 100 packages, it's too much for me. You have to be able to recognize your limitations. I guess it was the book. It was Lost at Sea, which is our naval adventure. And, I was at the post office every day for something like 3 weeks because I don't really have the way to take, 60 packages at once or whatever, I was trying to do. So what I do is I tend to take 10, 12, 15 at a time and do it that way. But for me, it was 100. Everybody's a little bit different. If you don't mind doing it, and I understand they even now can maybe come to your house. But again, it's one man's opinion. The one part I know I don't want to do is become a shipping agent and a label printer and a software. Okay, man, I'll just pay somebody the little fee and move on,
Yeah.
But I've got a drawback. You want to hear what my drawback is?
What's that?
My customers don't really have an effective way to get signed books because some people love the signed books.
That's the thing. I got to sign all of my first books. And if I'm going to do that on call, they've got to print the covers, ship them to me, sign them, and then ship them back and make the books. And that takes extra time. And I really want to get them out fast, but I love signing the books.
I do too. And, there's a couple of guys who I've been lucky enough to meet in my short creative career. One of them is Edward Davis, Immortal Era. He does something that's really classy. When you buy the hard copy, it's like a little handwritten thank you note. Mm-hmm. So I copied him. I had a set of postcards made, and the postcards are like the covers of the book without the logo. It's like and then it was like a little handwritten note to each customer. And that was easier when it was, under 200 people.
Yeah, it's a lot easier when it's
yeah. Oh my God.
Well, that was one element. And of course, now I think it was Fish, or it was actually Jessica mentioned the shipping. Now I can't really charge that guy shipping twice. Like the customer saves a little bit money if it comes direct from the printer,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and you can't really be mad at the customer because the shipping's so much. So what is the effective way to do that? Heck, the shipping is sometimes more than the book is. So, we've got to find some kind of compromise so it's a good deal for our customers. And what I've done, and time will tell if it's the right or the wrong thing, I have basically my books all come direct drop ship from the printer now. Mine's Comics Wellspring, if you guys are so inclined to look them up. But I would say that there's probably 20% of them I still take here to the house. And those are things like, I do the CGC books, and I also do some special posters and whatnot that kind of look like lobby cards. So stuff like that, I bring those to the house. And if I have the chance, I sign the stuff then, or at least I put a little handwritten note in there. But that's an area for my next campaign that I'm trying to improve and trying to find the correct way. I guess there is something to be said for somebody picks up the book and maybe they could come to a con and meet you at a con. Let's talk about that. Mr. Fishley, do you do conventions? If so, how many a year?
Oh, I do as many as I can get into, as far as I can drive in 2 days easily. But yeah, I've done a bunch like in Ohio, and I'm from Arkansas, Atlanta and Dallas and all over the place. Right now, I just had to turn one down in Maryland because I couldn't guarantee I was going to have the money for the table when it came up at Small Press Expo, and I was so
Oh.
excited to get in it.
Yeah,
And
me
then
too.
I was like, I can't guarantee I'm going to have the money for that table, so I let it go so somebody else could have it.
Man, I tell you, I can't believe this. I got selected for that this year too. You know, it's on like a lottery system where you're not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how the process works, but I'm like, yeah, I finally got in. I look at the date. Who is the guy who said, let's do this the same weekend as Baltimore Comic-Con, which for us is the largest one on the East Coast? I can't do both.
Oh,
So,
yeah. And
Nice.
it's the same weekend as Little Rock Comic Con, which is our biggest con in the state.
gotcha.
And I always kill it there. But I was willing to skip it to go there. But, you know, I couldn't guarantee I'd have the money at the right time. So I didn't. But like, I just got my table at Memphis. I'm going to be hitting as many things as I possibly can.
So roughly how many in a year?
It changes. Like, I think I did 10 last year. I think I'm not set up to do quite as many yet this year, but I'm trying to get into some more. So
Gotcha. Man, you are a hustler, the hardest working man in comics, officially.
I tell you what, man, I put the time in.
Man. Jessica, how about you? Let's jump over to you. So I know you do conventions, but like roughly how many a year, and how do you choose which ones you do?
Well, and that's a good question. It definitely proximity, you know. So if I can drive there, that's helpful. I live in Los Angeles, so I luck out on that front because you've got San Diego WonderCon and LA Comic Con and Ontario, all pretty close. And there's more. I'm still in Long Beach and all that stuff. I think my goal is usually to do an event a month of some kind. The shows that I've done, I think I've only really been doing 4 or 5 a year. I think the most I'll probably ever do is 10, 12. Yeah, just because of the traveling and everything. And but I do like them, but they are exhausting. So that is but I do think it's important. So there's like a couple that I do WonderCon with 2 writer buddies with Russell and Matt, and we do it together, and that's fun. Cool. And I think we're gonna probably do that every year. I am gonna try to do Ontario Comic Revolution next year. I want to do Motor City because I'm from Michigan, and I want to do the Traverse City one, but they have it on Memorial Day weekend. I get in it the last 2 years. I get in it, and then I'm like, I can't make it. It's crazy because to travel there during that time period is so expensive. But that's where my parents live. No, and so it's like I want to do some Michigan East. I haven't done it East Coast, but yeah, I probably really more like do 5, and I do like to partner with people. Yeah, to just kind of.
Yeah, I guess I'm headed toward 3 this year, and look, I'm not stupid. I get it that it's a marketing expense. Like there are many situations in which it's challenging to make your money back on the table and the room and the gas and the food, and of course. Look, can't say I blame them. Comic convention organizers have now realized that writers and independent creators are a profit source. So you probably noticed the cost of the tables has gone up at most places. And, I've got to find a way to, this will probably come out wrong, but I want to try and find a way to where they invite me. You know what I mean? And that's something where I could at least be a guest. That would absorb some of the cost for me. If you talk about, like for us, we do Baltimore. Baltimore is kind of a big one here on the East Coast, and it's very creator focused. And I've had some success with, one of the things I do is I'll go around to every indie creator that will talk to me, and I will try to feature their book and ask them a few questions and maybe put some stuff on social media. And of course, I've met some great people. I'm very fortunate in that regard because we're all really in the same boat together. And I've often said, man, if there was just some way to unify this brain power that's in this room, we'd be doing great. But unfortunately, I got a guy like me, you got to drive there, you got to get a hotel for 2 nights. And of course you got to eat and all this. And, I'm in for anyway, $1,500, $2,000, something like that. Yeah, and sure. That's not something I can swing every month, especially if it's somewhere I'd have to fly to. Oh man. So look, check this out, guys. If we go to Michigan, maybe Katrina will put us up. Katrina, we're coming to your place to crash.
What's up? All right. We're headed. Let's go.
I know half the state too, so well.
I got there's another creator buddy there. Do you guys know Peter Welmerink? He's a Michigan guy.
I don't know Peter.
He's big jack. He wrote a couple of novels too. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
But and by the way, since we're mentioning shout outs to creators, I also Laurie Foster helped me with my last campaign, and it was unasked for,
Oh,
and she didn't charge
she
me,
is the
just out of the
best.
kindness of her heart. And just I gotta say, thanks, Laurie, because the suggestion she made, the campaign improved right away, like within 24 hours. It was a graphic suggestion, and she was very kind. And sometimes creators are sensitive about their projects, as you that probably surprises you guys. But she said to me
Shocking.
something. She came into it really nice. She's like, "Look, hey," because I know her a little bit through Russell's book. Somehow we paired up. Her studio picked up the Cthulhu series, and
Oh yeah.
we were on a podcast together, and I wrote a little song for it. And she said, "Hey, I know you didn't ask my opinion or something like that, and I hope this isn't, don't take this the wrong way, but you might want to consider." And she gave me some graphic tips. I'm not really a graphic designer myself, and I was like, "Wow, thanks. Hey, listen, I'm not, I'm less sensitive than some, but I get it that she's very talented and knows what she's talking about."
She's
So I
smart,
tried
man.
it.
She knows what
I
she's
tried
doing.
it right away,
Yeah.
and I'm not kidding. The next day already we started to see results. So thank you, Laurie Foster. She's the best.
Oh yeah, and I agree. I like Laurie a lot too. And Laurie and Russell have a book together, Nolte, right now out on Kickstarter as well. And Russell has taught me a lot about Kickstarter, so I was going to shout out both of them and their project, which is the Licorice. I'm going to say it wrong.
Lucifer Licorice.
Lucifer Licorice, yeah. So that's on Kickstarter right now too. So
yeah, we don't see Russell anymore on Facebook, and I got to be honest, I miss him. He gave me my first break in an anthology. I guess it turned out to be the second, but either way, he gave me a break. So thank you, Russell, too. Actually, that's how we know each other, Jessica. We're both in that.
That is how we know each other. We're all in the Cthulhu anthology together.
Yeah. So I guess we talked a little bit about the lull that occurs in the period of the campaign. So let's talk a little bit about that, because it's something we're all trying to figure out, right? I'm not sure the answer is a shorter campaign. Fish, if there was a way to prevent this lull, what would be your top couple of suggestions?
I don't know, man. I have tried everything. I've listened to everybody's advice, and sometimes you see it work great, and sometimes it just doesn't. There's so many things that go into it, like tax season and when tax returns are coming back and when pay periods fall and how many other books are out right now. And there's just so many things. And you could put out one book that 300 people come and flock to, and then you could put out another book that you think is very similar and they don't come because they don't like purple or whatever. Like, it could be anything. So I don't know. It's something that I try and warn new creators about, to be ready for, that there will be a lull in the middle. And there also tends to often be, once you hit goal, there tends to be that backtrack from those friends and family that were like, "Oh, I want to help them get their book made. Oh, they hit goal. I can take my $20 back now." And when like 10 people do that, suddenly you drop back down below goal again. I was like, just be ready for that. Don't get your feelings hurt. That's a normal thing that happens. And it's all I can do is prep you for it. I can't give you advice on how to pass it. I don't know that. I don't know that.
Jessica, how about you? You have any insight into how to prevent a lull in a campaign?
I mean, I'm not sure how to stop it from happening. The things that I do to try to stop it are just I like to do the perks, the weekly perks and little surprise perks. I like to make a playlist for my campaigns. So I had a spooky, and like Medusa's the DJ, one of my characters. So I release a playlist. So I'll release songs, like, just to keep the content, what you're putting out differently. And just try to like space out different like surprise add-ons, things like that. Just to, if you can't get more backers, maybe the people who, like, I like the surprise add-on too, or I don't know if it's a surprise add-on, but it comes on later in the campaign. And
something you hadn't announced at the beginning.
Yeah.
Every time I open a book and I have new surprises in there, I'm excited. I don't care if it's a sticker or it's a little print or, it costs 5 cents to make it. I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't expect that to be there. That's awesome. And I love Russell's idea of putting out different add-ons each week to keep, hey, if you back this week, you're going to get all this stuff here and all these shiny objects. And that's a good idea. I need to take that and use it.
And
I
yeah, and
did
I
see
definitely learned that from Russell, to have the early bird perks, to have the week 1 digital comics, and just have these little bundles, because it's just, it's a reward for getting involved early, and you get a lot of cool books, and then you also can like introduce people to new creators that they might not know, which I think is fun too.
I stole that from Russell also, and it's something that I learned. And by the way, he was nice enough to, he liked one of my books, so I was in one of his, he used to call it the Fundle Bundle. I don't know if he still calls it.
Fundle Bundle, yep.
Yeah.
The Fundle Bundle.
But I was like, oh man, I'm going to do that when I do my campaign. And first of all, as both you guys know, I'll offer any of my books up to any creators if you want a digital swap. I feel that it's a good way for me to meet new customers, and I'm not really in it for the money. We're all comic writers here, so I know we're all incredibly wealthy already, right?
Oh yeah, I mean this is really just for fun at this point.
right. This is just the way. It's just the way that I meet people,
Yeah, right.
But on a more serious note, the creative community has been really nice to me, and I'm real grateful for that. So what I've been doing, I think I've got something now like 26 or 27 digital titles that you get for, even if you back the book for $1, you get 26 titles. But I thought, man, the impact is lost if I do it all at once. So it's in like, hey, can we get to 150? Okay, here's 6 more. Can we get to 165? Here's 6 more. And my hope was maybe that would nudge somebody that was on the fence. It seemed to work a little bit. I didn't do it in the middle though. I think if I did it again, I would do it in the middle. I did it like at the end, like it's a close, like your push,
Yeah.
And I think that it's very
I like
possible
to do it throughout the campaign, and to do a few at a time that have specific goal. Like one is, not only is it linked to the time for like the first week, but it's also has an unlock. So it's like, I will do the early bird comics, and I have 3 this time, I think. And then not only you have to back the first week, but you have to unlock it, which means you have to hit a certain, we have to, as a campaign, hit 4K, and then those comics unlock. Gotcha. So that's another thing, another like layer you can layer on, like just to be like, to keep momentum going, is to have an unlock for those freebies as well. Not freebies, they're part of the reward, but yeah, you know what I mean, perks.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think of the idea? And I'll go around and ask this question too. My next thing is I'm going to try something a little bit different. And I'm very grateful to the support of the indie community. And also, boy, thanks to both of you as well for backing my projects.
Absolutely.
But I feel like I should be doing something special for other creators. And first, let me tell you, I'm not even 100% sure what that would entail. But it's one of the reasons why we started doing this show was I feel like people have been pretty good to me. So I wanted to try and help other people somehow and get some eyes on these projects. And I think some people find it interesting to hear how you've made these cool things, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things I'm considering doing is something like, hey, if you can show that you've done a previous Kickstarter or you're a creator, what form I haven't exactly decided yet, but hey, you can get in and you can back this thing for $1 and you get the book, or maybe not $1, but you get the idea. First off, Fish, what do you think of that idea?
A creator discount.
Yeah, what do you think of the idea?
That is an interesting idea.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea, because I mean, the trading digital bundles is one of the things I love about the indie comics community, and especially like, I know if somebody's interested in my kind of story, then I know they're going to be interested in Tim's kind of story, and putting a copy of Waters Wars in there is a no-brainer, because like they're going to want to check that out, and I really love to kind of curate it into bundles of, here's a group of books like this. Here's a group of books that I worked on. Here's a group of this kind of story. And that's how I've done it in the past. But I think that's a cool idea. I mean, you can try it and see what happens anyway.
Like it would be a kick. You have had to have a Kickstarter to, it would be like a Kickstarter reward, and it would be a drastic reduction, like discount, basically, right? That's what you're saying. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because I always want to back everybody's.
I do too.
You're like, and you're going, how much can I afford here? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah. I think, I've just cracked something like 100 and some projects backed. And even my wife mentioned to me, she's like, hey, because I'm backing a lot of books. And, I want to show the love, because I definitely feel like I've got some back. And, I want to do, I've kind of noticed that some people that are successful in the indie community, it's because they're helping other people. And
Yeah.
I wasn't sure exactly how to do it, but I knew I wanted to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what we're trying. And I do think that for Kickstarter, we should be shaking hands behind the scenes a little bit somehow, because we all need backers. And like I say, even that dollar, you know, helps improve your algorithm, you know?
That not being sure how to do it, that's what made me set myself a monthly budget back in the day. Because when I launched my first book, Team Man and Hyperstrike, on Kickstarter, about a superhero team with Tourette syndrome and ADHD, it was purely aimed at kids growing up like I did, to help them find the hero in themselves before the world beats them down and tells you that you're a weirdo. And it did great. Everybody loved it. But that was when I first found out that there were even comics on Kickstarter. I didn't even know it was a thing. And I wanted to become a bigger part of this community. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to figure it out. So I set myself a budget of $40 because I was a broke artist. And I was going to make sure that I spent $40. And it was a challenge to make sure I spent that much every month at the time. Now my budget's like 65, and I'm like, man, I blew past that a long time ago. But you know, I've got so many awesome friends putting out so many awesome books, and I'm like, well, I can't not back that one. That one's too. I got to get that one, and my wife's gonna love that pin. And so, but yeah, setting myself a goal and a budget of I was going to back at least this much, and there was a whole lot of times that, like, I didn't have any friends running a book that month back in the day. So I would just go around and look for campaigns that were close to reaching goal, and, you know, back them at the digital level or something, so I could back as many as I could with what I had. And now I just checked, like, I've backed 225 books, and, you know, it's been a lot of help. I've enjoyed it.
And I will say, I actually think the lowest risk Kickstarters are comics and books, because I have actually not ever, I've backed 100, like, I am not up to 200 yet, but I'm getting there, and I've gotten every single book. Like, I don't think I haven't, or I just didn't notice if I didn't get it, but every science one, every science Kickstarter I back, I never get it. I get 1,000 emails of why I'm not getting it.
Oh, no kidding.
They're like, we're in the design phase. We're in the production phase. Oh no, they've changed everything in our industry. Now we're not doing it. And I was like, oh my God, no more science ones for me.
I did back you know, I've been saying to my son, like, I'm a little bit of a collector. Some people know me from the groups. I'm a little bit of a comic collector. And one of the things that was offered last year was this. It's the skull, the flying skull. It looks like a TIE fighter, but it's a skull. It's like a thing for G.I. Joe from Palatoy Labs. And that's supposed to come out this month. And it's like a $200 spaceship with, you know, a flaming skull. It's really pretty cool. So the Robo Skull, it's called.
You had to have it.
Heard of that? Yeah, but I don't have it yet. But man, I'm waiting. But between you and me, you know, it's like you said, there's other things that I want to back and promote. But at this point, I've got the comic creators are kind of in my blood, and I almost feel like I owe it to them. And I'm
for all the support and stuff that people have poured out.
If it wouldn't have been for my backers, I wouldn't have done this at all. Yeah. Like I say,
I find like so many people in the community are so supportive. And what I've noticed is, because I started going to cons right before COVID, I was like getting amped up, getting more into it. And then we all locked down. And then a lot of the people I know and developed relationships with it are mostly online. Like, it was very online. And yet when I did the first Kickstarter, I was so nervous about it. And I mean, I could give a list of names, like, you know, it was Charlie Stickney was really supportive.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Brandon Grant was really supportive. Stephen Prince was really supportive. Barbara Dillon over at Fan. I could just go on and on. Russell and all these guys, you know, and it was just so nice, because I was so freaked out. I'm like, because it's, you know, and I'm just going to be super honest here. I really believe in the story, and I believe in the art, and I believe in all of it. That part I wasn't freaked out about. I was just like, I'm going on this platform I've never done, with this work I've done with this artist who I have a huge respect for, and I love what we've done together. And I'm like, I do not want to fail at this. Like, I don't want to fail. And, you know, it's one of those things. So balancing that, like, and I find the community really nice in that element where everyone's just always trying to be supportive, and support you when they can. And, it's great. So.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
I didn't mention a ton of people, but everyone was very supportive.
Yeah. And you mentioned a couple of the ones I know too. And
you were very supportive, Timothy. I mean, it was just really nice. And then Blake Morgan was really supportive too when I went on his show, and he's working with me on this one, which I'm kind of excited about. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's his new thing. Is he is Johnny Kickstarter guy, and hey, look, not for nothing, I'm kind of trying to shoulder up to him too, because I'm sorry to say this, but I sort of jumped in this podcasting water without really knowing how to do it. But I remind myself, hey, when I started making comics, it was the same thing. Nobody really, and I tell people at the time, there weren't really, I had never done Kickstarter. I had never read any books of how to do this. And I realize there are those things now, but I just wasn't really exposed to it. So I had to really just kind of learn as I went. So there's one quote that I love to say, and it's a special thing that I like to say for newer creators. We all picture success as kind of like a timeline. And we say, well, if it's a failure, it's kind of like you went backwards. But the truth is the opposite. Failure is one of the steps on the way toward success. Yeah. Most people will not achieve success until they've failed several times. So if you have a failure, just kind of look at it and go, hey, there's mine. Okay, now the next one's success. You got to kind of look at it as one of the steps toward it and not really a step backwards. I hope that made sense.
Oh, yeah. There have been so many guys. I've known so many people over my life that if they hit a failure, they hit a speed bump, they're done. It wasn't meant to be. I'm out. And, and then to see creators that I know and I support, I'm real excited for their book. And then it doesn't hit goal. And I'm just sitting, I'm like, oh, man, they got to be heartbroken. They got to be crushed. Yeah. And then, all right, we're launching it again. Next Tuesday, we're going to get it this time. And I'm like, damn, okay, this is one of my guys here. This is somebody I'm watching. This is somebody I'm following. This is somebody that's going to get this done. And, it makes me so happy to see him hit it the next time.
Yeah.
Well, I love you guys, positive words and your encouraging spirits. And, thanks so much. It means a lot to me. And we're almost to our time. So let's take a second here and do a call to action. We can tell our viewers about these great projects that are out there. We're talking here tonight to Fish Lee and Jessica Mason. First up, we've got The Mighty Caw, the Cro-Magnon. I love that title. Just a super interesting character design. Hey, that's on Kickstarter right now if you'd like to go over and check it out. I have read some of Fish's previous books. They are terrific. It's a high quality publication, and you're also guaranteed to get it. This isn't something where, maybe a year later you're going to get the book.
It's done. I've already got the printed copies. It's just waiting to get shipped out. Like, I'm just waiting for the check from Kickstarter and a list of names and then it's going out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we're also here talking tonight about Mary Shelley's School for Monsters horror graphic novel from Jessica Mason. I just love this project. I think it's got a lot of charm. I think that it will appeal to a broad range of people. This is your call to action. Viewers, go over right now. The launch date is on Tuesday?
Yep, Tuesday.
Okay, so don't miss your chance. There's going to be some great early bird backer rewards. And I have to recommend Jessica's work. It's really terrific. And I'm not just saying that because she's a fan of 50s sci-fi like me.
But I am.
But that is one of the reasons.
Doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt, right? I also have the books ready to go, and I'm hoping to actually have a really fast turnaround. So my goal is to get them to people before San Diego, but the latest August. So it won't be bad.
Nice. So viewers, please go over and check that out. These are terrific projects. And in closing here, before we go, we're just about to our time. For those that are just tuning in, let's go around the room one more time and tell us about your project and why you should drop everything you're doing and go and get it right now. You tell us first, Mr. Fish.
All right. I am Mr. Fish of Mr. Fish Comics, and I am the creator, writer, illustrator of Caw the Cro-Magnon. He is the savage from beyond the stars. The book's already done. It's ready to go to print. It's like a love letter to all the Saturday morning cartoons and stuff that we loved growing up. It's like a mix of Thundercats and He-Man and Space Ghost and Flash Gordon. It's short, action-packed stories, just kicking tail and taking names and saving the princess. It's nothing but fun. It is kind of PG-13. There are a couple people with their heads turned around backwards and whatnot. So, like, it's not for the littler kids, but it's a fun book. It is so much fun. I can't say much without giving it away because everything happens so fast.
I love your pitch, man. It sounds great, and I'm definitely looking forward to that project. Jessica, same for you. Tell us real quick once more who you are and why we should buy your book immediately.
Okay, well, I'm Jessica Mason. I'm the writer of Mary Shelley's School for Monsters. This is a hardcover edition of La Llorona and the Machine. It's the first book in the series. Basically, it is a young Mary Shelley goes to a graveyard. She's reading her mom's book. She comes in contact with a mad scientist and a cute and cuddly version of the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead. When she touches it, it splits her into two versions of herself, one that goes on to be human and write Frankenstein, the other one that goes on to be Shell, a monster version of her, a mortal teenager who forms a school for monsters and rescues other mistreated monsters and spends her life doing that. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of the best of world of like inspirations are like Scooby-Doo, Supernatural, the Winchester brothers, Wednesday Addams, the best of those kind of things in a graphic novel. We are already, Anna Weischek is an amazing artist. We're already 30 pages into book 2, which I will probably be announcing the title and showing some art during the Kickstarter. That won't be out for another year, but I'm like the art in that one. It's driving me crazy. It's so good. So I am so excited to share all of it with you. So go follow it, and then you can back it later.
Go right now and save it.
Go right now. Run to the internet. You're already on the internet. It's easy.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, this was a terrific time chatting with you. And in closing, I just want to say thanks for making such cool projects. Thanks for sharing your creative process. And man, thanks for being my friends. I really appreciate it a lot.
Absolutely, man. Thank you too, man. I love your books. I thoroughly enjoy them, and you're a great dude. Glad to be
Thanks for saying that. Thanks for saying that. I will look forward to both these projects. As far as the viewers, man, thanks once again for watching the show. I'm just thrilled to death that people seem to be enjoying it. And I hope to see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.